The midway point of the championship race is already upon us. Welcome back to WorldWide Technology Raceway, and tonight it's going to be Gateway, the venue for race number 2 here in the Legacy Truck Series playoffs. Welcome back live on FTN. I'll be your host for tonight's broadcast, David Croyts, commentating and producing. It's great to return to this circuit. Gateway has given us some fantastic racing over the years, and this time around, some of the older trucks on the market have the opportunity to maybe give it a shot at full speed for 160 plus laps. We'll see how many drivers make it to the checkered flag. Gateway oftentimes comes down to being a racetrack known for attrition, and tonight, no difference. It looks like now drivers are taking their qualifying laps. Corey Lyles finds himself at the provisional pole, and it'll be second Cameron Albertson, third spot going to be Rodney Roberts, and fourth goes to Caden Perkins. For the time being, 4 drivers have set laps so far, and Aaron Fontaine is due to be up next of a 10-car field that is currently registered to this point. Laps are still being set, and drivers are still able to register as we open tonight's race half an hour early. So, rather than our traditional 9:30 p.m. start time, the green flag is due to arrive in some 10 minutes at the very most, and drivers getting used to that. It looks like Caden Perkins going to be wrecked in the number 54. Shannon Milliken now on the way in the number 17 as he makes his way out of turn 2. And the 17 of Milliken now making it through the final 2 corners, each driver getting a chance to go for 2 full laps. As Shannon comes across the line, he is the 6th driver who has joined the session, and now Chris Mullins going to be the 7th of which to be on the way down the back straight. 2 more drivers on the circuit waiting for Jake Raven, Thomas Coonan, and Aaron Schugel to set lap times with 7 minutes left in the session. We're expecting every driver to have the opportunity to come down to the circuit and take a lap if they'd like. However, not expected that every driver will. Mullins across the stripe going to record his first lap here, and Shannon Milliken in a very similar position is due to come around through turns 3 and 4. 1.25 miles. That's the length of each lap here in Gateway, and these trucks not the quickest around the track. Lap times are above 35 seconds for almost everyone in the field. Milliken is no exception. He runs up in a 6th with a 36.859. Chris Mullins is potentially due to be more of the same, as Corey Lyles right now has the pole position by a firm 10th and a half. It looks like he's got far and away the fastest truck so far. He was the quickest in qualifying to this point anyway, and the fastest in practice. Mullins jumps up to 6th, and Shannon Milliken looking for some deep improvements on this lap. 0.2 of a second quicker as Shannon's going to come across the line here, and it looks like Shannon jumps up 0.4 overall. Not enough to get up to Chris Mullins, but a vast improvement to put him on the outer portion of the top 10. Chris Mullins right now going to be making his way around for the final 2 turns of his run, and as Chris makes his way through, it looks like he's going to score himself a lap in the 36-second range. 35.761 after final calculation moves him up in a 4th. 5 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Chris Mullins now going to be heading down to the pit road, and for the time being, it looks like that's going to conclude qualifying. Most other drivers are not taking times. We still have 3 that we are waiting on: Jake Raven, Thomas Coonan, and Aaron Schugel, all of which have decided to sit out for the time being. So qualifying going to be at a bit of a standstill here with 5 minutes left, and as all drivers have taken a lap, let's talk about the championship picture that we have now in mind. We have 2 races after this one, the next of which will be at Thompson, which will be racing next week, next Friday night, August 23rd. Then from there, we go to our final race in Richmond, so the championship battle is coming down to the very tail end of this season, and still, it's an all-out, all-open battle up in front. We saw, of course, what happened in Southern National. Very tricky circuit for drivers. The JFR drivers, of course, getting the better of it. Corey Lyles, Aaron Schugel and company. Zach Saunders disconnecting early. Might have ended his championship run despite his 3 consecutive victories to open the campaign. He now finds himself on the back foot, and he is not registered for tonight's race. Rather unlikely that we see him again, at least in championship contention, as it looks like the track remains empty here. Next week going to be Thompson, but this week is going to be Gateway, and Aaron Schugel will now take it to the track alone, and he's going to do his warm-up lap here before getting started for 2 more laps. And it looks like Schugel going to park it quickly. Aaron decides to head back immediately to pit road here after only taking a few seconds of driving, getting up to about 100 miles an hour and then backing it down again. He's making what looks to be a few adjustments outside the cockpit, and hopefully Aaron will head back in as soon as he can. Schugel, the winner at Daytona just 2 weeks ago, finding himself with a playoff berth, and now the JFR driver gets back on the way. The number 91 gets back at full speed. Let's see what he does now. The number 91 machine, notable team change. Thomas Coonan going to be running as an independent driver for the rest of the season, and it's going to be the 91 and the 56, Lyles and Schugel, carrying the banner for JFR from here on out. Aaron now getting settled into the track. This is going to be his first of 2 laps here. How about we take a ride on board for this one and see what Aaron's got under the hood? Aaron on that lap going to be a 35.89, so in all honesty, not the most impressive of opening laps. He's going to be up to 6th for the time being, and now he's got a chance to go for 1 lap more, hopefully to be a little bit quicker and join his teammate up on the front row. Racing down the back straightaway with 1 minute and 40 seconds left. Aaron Schugel is going to be the last driver looking to take a time. Let's see now what the number 91 has in store, coming out of 3 and 4 at a speed of about 120 some miles an hour. He'll put it into gear and come across the stripe. Aaron Schugel gets up there from a 35.89 to a 35.57. That's going to put Aaron in 4th, and now Jake Raven decides to head to the track. Jake Raven, king of the 3rd place finish this season, has returned once again to the track. We missed him for about a week or so, and it's great to have him return now at the very final stretch of the championship. It looked like, to kick off the campaign, someone like Zach Saunders would run away with the title, but now it's a little bit of an open race, and if Raven gets back to his 3rd place ways, well, he's got a chance to put himself in there as an outside contender. It looks like every driver, except for Thomas Coonan, will take a lap tonight. 10 drivers have registered for tonight's session, 9 of which will have an official lap set. Looks like Zach Saunders is going to be out due to illness tonight, and unfortunately the number 99 team looking to show up, but not going to work out for the driver inside the cockpit per usual. We're wishing, of course, quick recovery for Zach Saunders, and hopefully we'll have him back next week. Raven across the line, going to be an 8th place start for him, and Thomas Coonan sees briefly himself on the track, but it's no use, and he'll head down to pit road once again. Raven now going to find himself off of the track, and qualifying as concluded, familiar faces at the front of the field, Corey Lyles finds himself with the pole position. Sun is setting here, 165 laps on the table. What could be one of our longest races of the season here, even though it comes at a non-super speedway track. 200 miles at Gateway. Well, they tend to be a long-haul challenge, and tonight that's exactly what we are expecting. All the drivers are now heading onto the starting grid, so let's look from top to bottom here in Gateway. Corey Lyles with the pole position, and alongside him going to be Cameron Albertson in second in the number 15. Rodney Roberts has looked very strong in the past few races, and again, look at Rodney starting in third alongside Aaron Schugel, JFR, first and fourth on the qualifying table. Fifth place, Chris Mullins, and sixth then and there goes to Aaron Fontaine, with a seventh spot being awarded to Caden Perkins, and Jake Raven, eighth on the order, 5 spots from a course where he'd like to be at least inside the third placement. You'll see then, 9th and 10th, the final 2 drivers on the starting grid tonight, Shannon Milliken in number 17, and Thomas Coonan, number 68, 10th and last tonight, running independently for the rest of the season without team backing. He is the SimPulse driver even still. Qualifying, well, it came and went rather quickly. 9 drivers took a time, and now 165 laps are on the table until the job is done. And Lyles tonight could put himself in a real good position to lock up the championship with the pace he's had so far in practice and qualifying. He might just be the man to do it. As Corey Lyles makes his way through turns 3 and 4. Last time we'll see the pace car hopefully for a while here, and these trucks will be ready to go all out, hopefully without any stopping. Not a lot of drivers in the field tonight. Expect everyone to find their natural rhythm and groove and settle in for the long haul. Going to be a night of strategy if anyone wants to beat Corey Lyles, and so long as he doesn't make a major mistake, we might be looking at an open and shut case for JFR, be it Lyles or Aaron Schugel. We'll see, of course, what Cameron Albertson and Rodney Roberts have to say on the matter. Coming now to the green flag as the iRacing pace car leaves the field B. Lyles will get the jump on the inside. Cameron Albertson right up top, and the green flag will fly here from Gateway. Welcome back to the Midwest for 200 miles of playoff racing. Albertson with a nice jump in the opening lap here. The number 15 gets away. Notably, the outside groove getting off much better than Corey Lyles on the inside, and that's going to allow Aaron Schugel to get right up into third. So the 1-2-3 order is going to have JFR 2-3 now. Cameron Albertson is the man on top to open the race. Not a bad start there for Cameron and company. Take a look further back, and you'll see already Thomas Coonan has gone from 10th up to 4th. Same paint scheme, very similar look for Thomas Coonan, but he's announced officially that he'll be severing ties with any team operation. Oh, contact! Corey Lyles makes a mistake early. Yellow flag is out. Rodney Roberts, Cameron Albertson. The battle for the lead turns foul in only 2 laps. Yellow flag is flown, and now we've got trouble in only the first 3 miles. Take a look back and find out what caused it. Replay will show you here. Lyles trying to get perhaps up to the bumper of Cameron Albertson as they make their way out of 4. Albertson making it through down the back, and it looks like contact. That doesn't even show you what happened. We're not going to leave it up to assumption here. Take a look with one more angle on board with Corey Lyles. This will tell you the story. Yellow flag out for the first time today. Cameron Albertson already retiring after leading the opening lap. And this is what happens next. Contact and bad. That's going to spin Lyles around, but Albertson's day is already over. And terrible news for Cameron, who led the only lap he could complete. So, we're back under caution rather early here. Already Corey Lyles with some somewhat major damage. He's going to go down to pit road. Looks like still getting repairs here. And since there are no fast repairs in this series, this could be detrimental to both the race-winning chances of Lyles and Rodney Roberts. JFR's Aaron Schugel now moves up to the front of the field, and a rather quick incident between the number 15 and the number 56 can end Cameron Albertson's race prematurely. And I'm sure that's a very disappointing way to go out here for Albertson. He had pace in practice and qualifying, got the jump, and just one errant move. You would think that would happen with 2 to go, not on lap 2. And yet, trouble arises. And already with 162 laps to go, we are under caution once again. Field's going to be making it down to the stripe. 9 drivers still racing with us here. And it looks like now, as they come down to the line, iRacing pace car turns the lights off again. We'll go green with 160 flat left. Thomas Coonan up top, Aaron Schugel down low. Third place now for Aaron Fontaine, going to move him up the ladder, and that's going to bring Aaron from 6th up to 3rd. Hard charger on the day is the man who started last in this race, who's already up to the runner-up spot in 5 laps. That's Thomas Coonan, and now Thomas is looking to prove that he has the pace to go out there and win this race. Pace car lights are going to go out, and Coonan now looking for what could be win number 2. Thomas getting it done previously at Charlotte. See if he does it again here at Gateway. Nine drivers going to be on the lead lap and with the field here and now. Aaron Schugel going to be the control car, not hoping to end up like his teammate in Thomas Coonan. As the 91 grabs a gear and gets away, it's going to be a much better launch on the inside. Schugel gets the jump. Green flags out, and we are underway again. 91 going to get the advantage and move through to the first 2 turns. Side by side, it looks like a little bit of contact with the wall. Nothing major. That was the number 54 of Caden Perkins. Oh, Chris Mullins is in the wall too. And it looks like while it wasn't major before, another driver getting snapped up top. And Mullins is going to drop back rather quickly. Luckily, not involving anyone else. 160 laps to go. That's what's on the line. 6 laps in so far, and Aaron Schugel going to have a chance to take the race lead after that previous incident. Of course, here comes the number 68, Thomas Coonan, looking to the bottom side and trying to take that race lead immediately here in what looks to be an endurance race, even though it's only 200 miles. Lap times at this track are relatively slower compared to most of its distance, and that's going to allow for these drivers to have a lot of time to think things through as the race progresses. Don't expect things to be easy. Nothing is a given at this track, and now Thomas Coonan is trying to take his way up to the top spot. Now he's going to have a chance side by side with the number 91 of Schugel. Could have been bad there with some quarter panel contact that was luckily just barely avoided. Coonan not hoping to replicate what happened with Corey Lyles here, and the number 68 backs off and is going to lean into it through 3 and 4 again. Looks like he's going to get a little bit loose and have to lose a little bit of ground on this battle, and patience will be key tonight. Can't expect a race like it's a last lap when we still have more than 90% of the race to go. Across the line again, it's going to be Coonan still second. Further back, Chris Mullins and Caden Perkins, both of which now going against each other for the 6th position. Oh, Perkins up in the wall once again. Both of these drivers have right side damage due to wall contact, and it looks like Caden going to repeat the damage he's previously gotten, and unfortunately that's going to send him further back on the running order. This will bring Caden now down to 7th. Chris Mullins is going to be in 6th now, and Corey Lyles is going to be top 5 after that initial incident. While Cameron Albertson finds his day done with a top 10 finish regardless. Corey Lyles is still going, able to get away from that initial incident, and as it stands, the number 56 holds fourth and fifth, while his teammate is still going to be the race leader. Thomas Coonan wasn't quite able to find a way around Aaron Schugel, and instead now finds himself right behind. Top two drivers going to hold fort, nobody else there with them. Aaron Fontaine going to be up in third, and tonight could be Aaron's very first podium, but he'll have to hold off the man most experienced with the third place finish. That, of course, is Jake Raven, and right now Jake is coming in quick, as you can see, the number 37 making up more than a tenth of a second on that corner alone, and now going down to the inside, Jake Raven going to be hugging it to the bottom through the final two turns. Looks like Raven is going to additionally bring Corey Lyles with them. Not a half bad move there by Jake Raven, who's going to bring Aaron Fontaine back to fourth and leave him in the dust if he just has enough traction through the first two corners to make the pass stick. Looks like Fontaine's going to try low, but thinks better of it, decides to lay off once again. Not bad at all for Jake Raven, up the third quickly, although it looks like Aaron Fontaine now going to have to deal with the best of Corey Lyles that is still yet to come. Side by side, Caden Perkins and Rodney Roberts going to see Caden Perkins in the wall once again. Massive damage now for the number 54, and if it wasn't bad before, it is now. You can see the 54 going to have to deal with this damage for the rest of the race, if of course he so chooses to keep on going. Luckily for now, he still is, but Caden Perkins is running awful close to that wall. He is in massive trouble now. Look at that, slamming the wall all the way down the front straightaway, and I can't imagine he's got more than a lap or two in him with the right side coming apart. Hopefully, he does not give himself suspension damage, but as you can see, he's lost the lead pack, and he is all alone further on behind the rest of the field. Corey Lyles and Aaron Fontaine battling each other here and now. And it looks like stuck up in the wall, Caden Perkins once again drops down a pit road. So it looks like the number 54 are going to go a lap down early. Let's see whether or not he decides to recover, or if, of course, he decides not to go at it again. Big damage here, should be something he can repair, but it's going to cost him an awful lot of time. So Caden Perkins makes his way to pit road, and the closest two drivers on the field still up in front, Thomas Coonan and leader Aaron Schugel. Caden Perkins additionally going to miss his stall on that one to unfortunately add the insult to injury. He's going to come down and in, looks to be taking repairs, but only for so long. Perkins now going to be out of the truck, leaving us with 8 drivers still going as we come to lap number 15. Gateway, we've mentioned many a time, comes down to attrition, and we've seen this circuit in many leagues. Highline Racing League, the Integrity Racing League, both the Ignite and Octane Series, and tonight, getting a chance, of course, the Prodigy Racing Association. However, this is a style of racing that, while traditional to oval events, is not often seen with the legacy trucks. They pride themselves upon high horsepower racing, but at a track like Gateway, you have to compensate. While long, you can also see minimal banking throughout those corners, which is not traditional. Not anything you see at a track like Homestead, Chicago, Charlotte, just list off a few traditional intermediates, or even Nashville and Darlington, which are closer to the same size of this track. Gateway is almost in a world of its own. You might compare its shape to something like Darlington, but it definitely does not drive like Darlington. Unlike the circuit in South Carolina, this track has completely viable racing room. Darlington has only about a lane and a half of viable racing through the corners, whereas if you run here, you can run from the top to the bottom at your discretion with no real disadvantage, so to speak. However, the shape also comes into mind with the banking, and the increased banking at Darlington allows for drivers to barrel through at substantially higher speeds, whereas drivers in these trucks, they have to be backing it down into the corners, which is one of the weak points of these trucks, which we've seen before at the short tracks, maybe even a circuit like Phoenix or USA International. And with all that wide room, it means racing will be overall spread out no matter what happens. Two drivers might be similar speeding to one another, but doesn't mean we'll see a lot of identical racing. Thomas Coonan up into the wall there in the number 68, and 18 laps in out of 165 on the table. Already, the field going to be largely put together wide and far. 12 seconds separating all those on the lead lap from Aaron Schugel down to Shannon Milligan, whereas Chris Mullins now comes up on Aaron Fontaine. Take a look from the deck lid in the number 18. Fontaine going to be in fifth here, and it looks like Chris Mullins may be backing off, but instead, Corey Lyles might be in the hot seat, but not with Aaron Fontaine. It's Jake Raven. Those two drivers going to be battling for third. Aaron has found himself a little bit of his own racing room, carving himself a niche up in the middle of the pack, and firmly in fifth now. A top 10 is guaranteed for every driver who started, so a great points night overall sort of raises the bar on what is considered a good race here at Gateway. Corey Lyles going to be coming down the back straight about 0.4 of a second off from Jake Raven, and it looks like Raven has been quicker over the past few laps. Even though Corey Lyles has been getting slightly closer, lap in, lap out, the difference is not clear yet. We'll take a look across the line now to see who's really got what it takes here, because at the stripe, it looks like, once again, Jake Raven about 0.2 of a second slower. So Lyles, while inconsistent, has some speed, and they're both now running that racing groove firmly marked through the corners. And number 56 of Lyles is going to keep the pressure on Jake here. Let's see whether or not he folds quickly, or, of course, if he decides to keep on defending, maybe causing a little bit of trouble as the night progresses. And so far, both drivers going to be at a bit of a stalemate right now. 0.3 of a second, the gap there. 22 laps in out of 165. One thing that's definitely going to come into play tonight is the tire strategy. Something that we haven't discussed so far, but it will come into play if we stay under green, which I'm certain is the intention for all those in the field right now. The big thing to mention is, of course, the fact that we have 5 tire sets to work with, and 165 laps at Gateway don't come all too quick. Right now, there's a possibility for a 2 or 3 stop strategy. Very unlikely that we see the one stopper come into play, in which it's an 80 and 80 split, and while it could be done maybe in other circumstances, these drivers are taking, simply put, too long lap after lap with these trucks for it to be realistic. So don't expect drivers to try to go for 2 flat stints. Instead, expect them all to break it down as the race goes on. That's what we are hoping to see. That's what is expected. And come lap 50, 55, we should see our first official run down on a pit road without a need for damage repair. That's when pit road's going to get busy, and that's when you'll figure out what the winning strategy is for the drivers at the head of the field and those who are further on back. Corey Lyles now going to be half a second off of Jake Raven, and as close as he gained, he looks like he's already falling back again. Corey Lyles right now going to be running down that back straightaway. A little bit of a scrape on the right side of the circuit, but nothing all too absurd and nothing that can't be fixed with quick damage repair. Looks like Corey's still going to be in good shape. The rest of the field is now separate by more than 1 second from each and every driver, which makes it a little bit of a stale circuit to say the least. Right now, the most important focus for all the drivers on the track is to, of course, keep themselves in good spirits. That's something that we don't talk about too much because the car sizes in this series have been increasing week over week. But tonight, admittedly, a little bit of a difference. And now you gotta wonder, what can these drivers do to keep themselves together even if they are all alone? It almost gets more challenging when you're alone rather than when you're in a tight pack to make positions, because when you're alone, you cannot see the progress ahead or behind you. Take a ride on board right now with the number 18, Aaron Fontaine. We were with him before. You can kind of see it again. He is now going to be rather lonely. Maybe a few drivers are going to be blips in his rearview mirror or up in front in the windshield, but it gets challenging to understand if you're hitting your marks relative to the drivers around you. You're battling, yes, but you're not battling with the driver who's nearby. You're battling with time, and consistency is always rewarded. But for Aaron Fontaine right now in 5th place, it's hard to find consistency when there's really no benchmark to go up and against. He's 3 3.5 seconds off of Corey Lyles. However, he's also 3 seconds ahead of Christopher Mullins and many a driver in the same position right now. I mean, Aaron Schugel leads the race by 3 seconds here. He is certainly looking comfortable, and the closest battle remains Jake Raven and Corey Lyles, who have decided to keep going at it here. Lyles on a slightly younger set of rubber, 23 laps of age relative to Jake Raven's 27, and still no great signs he's got the pace advantage. Jake Raven now going to be making his way down the back straightaway and into the front all over again. Jake is in third, a very familiar spot here for the number 37, and it feels like almost every time we see him make it back to the track, he gets up here sooner or later. Whether it's incidental, whether it's even attrition or a wreck in front of him, whether or not he was there the whole race or if he came in on the last lap, Jake Raven's had a knack for third place all season long. If he's racing, he'll find his way up there, and he's had some chances to maybe go for a win or two, but everything ends up settling down in where he's been most comfortable all season long, the podium. Even though it might not be the goal position, Great Points Nights have been no stranger to the number 37 team. 30 laps in at 160 some so far. Well, for now, it looks like Corey Lyles is getting back up to him again. A quarter of a second is the distance. Gap to the number 37 has been decreasing steadily over the last 10 laps. While it hasn't been anything major, hundredths of a second, that's been the gap changed, and it looks like now number 56 is tighter again to the number 37 of Raven. Take a lap on board now with Corey Lyles on board. We'll go with the 56 here for JFR. Corey Lyles, no doubt he is there. Now both drivers going to be separated only 15 100ths of a second, and you saw how Lyles right now is very comfortable following in the tracks of the number 37. Jake Raven has allowed him to find that groove and continue watching it, although it looks like Lyles going to deviate a little bit more through 3 and 4. The preferred groove is clear as day in the first 2 turns, and Gateway's surface, while not old by any stretch of the imagination, definitely getting worn in, and that's allowing these drivers to find what's preferable and choose to go for it. One driver down to pit road. It looks like that's going to be Rodney Roberts coming in after only 27 laps here. We'll see whether or not he is the anomaly or if he is the standard for the rest of this event. Rodney going to make it in this time by, and it looks like he's only going to go 27 laps on that initial stint as the 29 crew make their way down and in alone. Now we talk about the age of this circuit here. WorldWide Technology Raceway in its current form has been together since 1997, originally owned by Jody Trover and then Chris Pook, who took over during the revamp of the circuit. Dover Motorsports ended up taking this track and acquired it in 1998, just after this brand new configuration was put into place. A road circuit additionally exists as well, a sort of roval, introduced in 1997 as well, and as soon as Dover left the circuit in 2010, Curtis Francois took over, and under Francois' leadership, a second road course was put together. However, this was originally a road course track. That might be the reason for 2 roval circuits inside of it. Originally from 1985 to 95, this was a track utilized all throughout for road racing. The road course record at Gateway set in 1986 by Bill Tempero in a March 84C. Definitely not the type of racing you'd see it nowadays. And the first ever event held by the oval side of racing, well, It was May 24th, 1997, a kart race, and this was during the vicious Indianapolis Indycar split. This is right before the Indy Racing League hosted the Indianapolis 500, and during this time, the best of open-wheel racing was completely divided. That would be as if stock car racers had two different series that were considered the top of the world. Some drivers went down to Gateway for its very first ever race. Others went to the Brickyard, an eventual race winner in 1997 in the Indy 500. Well, talk about prestigious names. In 97, Arie Luyendyk. Talk about a driver who knows about speed. He wasn't at Gateway that day in May 24th. However, many a driver got a chance to test out the brand new track, and now with more than 25 years under its belt, it's a completely different circuit than what it was originally intended to be. Nevertheless, racing in the National Series has remained common ever since the 1990s. In 1998, the Craftsman Truck Series first came to this very circuit. In 2010, they stopped going. They went for a temporary break and returned again in 2014. So it took a little bit of time for them to come back. However, in 2008, when these trucks are from, it was a 160-lap race. Overall, the event took 2 hours and 7 minutes. The average race speed was 93 miles an hour, and Ron Hornaday won that day for Kevin Harvick Incorporated. Now, Hornaday, a very well-known driver all throughout motorsport and the truck series in particular, able to lead the field in that event. September 6th, so just a few weeks from where we are right now, a late summer classic. Gateway tends to be for the trucks. However, now you might see it scheduled a little bit closer to late April, early May, just before the summer really comes back into play, and events like Indianapolis or Charlotte get on to their, of course, respective time slots. Corey Lyles and Jake Raven are now going to be a little bit of a position swap. As you can see, Corey, well, he finds himself in third, and Jake, position number 4. So at odds with one another, and it looks like now the 56 has a little bit more of that advantage. And Raven going to drop back one position. Nothing major, but nevertheless, not going to find himself in the top 3 any longer. These are still the only two drivers within a second of each other. The next closest gap between two drivers is 3.5 seconds from Corey Lyles up to Thomas Coonan. The field is really spread out tonight, and it looks like we're not going to see a lot more of that close, intense green, white checkered racing, green flag racing to say anything of it. Now it's going to be Chris Mullins coming down and in after 38 laps, and he's the next man to make it through. Once again, he comes in alone. So as the number 76 decides to drop down and in, Shannon Milliken is actually going to be due to follow him. So 38 laps in out of 165, we might be looking now at the 3-stop strategy. Coming down to pit road is going to be Jake Raven with Aaron Fontaine looking a little bit slower. Does he commit? Looks like he will. And Coonan is now right there with the number 17 of Shannon Milliken. 3 stops look to be on the agenda tonight for all drivers. And this is the first of which, 30-some laps in. Let's see who goes 40+. Estimates are showing if you go 41, 42 laps on this stint, you should be good to go for the rest of the race. Aaron Schugel coming in after 40 laps, and this is going to give Corey Lyles the advantage at least for now, although he's committing as well down a pit road. Now it's going to be Rodney Roberts, the only driver going at full pace, as most of the field is going to be on pit road. Thomas Coonan now going to be getting out. He'll get ahead now of Aaron Fontaine and company, move up to overall third. Corey Lyles, Aaron Schugel, both of which come together, and the majority of the field heading down a pit road at exactly the same time. Rodney Roberts looking to get himself back now on the lead lap. As he comes across the line, here is the only driver going full pace down the front straightaway. So, pit cycle almost entirely complete in just 1 lap. You'll see Aaron Schugel getting on the way, and it looks like Aaron going to find himself with a 5-second advantage relative to Thomas Coonan. Coonan now going to be entering that first corner, and while he made it by against Corey Lyles, it looks like Thomas again in second and alone, and that will bring Aaron Schugel up in a front with 125 laps still remaining here. Looks like a lot of time to spare for these drivers, and yet they're more divided and spread out than ever on the track before. Only a first quarter of the way through this one. There's a lot more left to tell about this story, and let's see what happens now. Christopher Mullen's going to be a little bit slower on this lap, getting himself settled in. A driver who has struggled before on cold, brand new tire. It looks like that struggle coming back again into play. Gonna let Thomas Coonan go by. Mullins is one lap down, and it looks like now Thomas Coonan, who finds himself as a top 2 driver, he's the second man anyway, just made the move rather quickly against the lappers, really not trying to waste any time getting involved with those off of the lead lap. Right now though, everyone in their own world. The only passes you can expect to see for the majority of the night from here on onward, well, there'll be lap drivers racing against the leaders. Everyone now going to be far and away divided unless there is a yellow flag, which could come out, mind you. Doesn't look too likely. There's going to be a completely different attitude with respect to how racing goes from this point onward. It's not going to be all about drivers being dirty or anything of the matter, but more so about working toward the long term. The goal is, of course, to now get to the checkered flag in one piece, and Shannon Milliken's going to be heading down a pit road for what looks to be an unscheduled pit stop. Let's see what happens now for Shannon as the number 17 is damaged big on the right side, and that could be Shannon's race. Number 17 team making it down and in. It looks like that will be it. Milliken going to leave the circuit now, and that's going to be Shannon practically done for the day. Let's see now, 2 laps down as is, and with no caution in sight. A lot of drivers perhaps opting to end their night early. Hopefully Shannon not one of which, but it looks like we'll get confirmation very soon here. Milliken still going to be on pit road with the rookie stripes and all. Shannon now goes 3 laps down. Aaron Schugel going to find himself leading 45 laps in out of 165. His teammate Corey Lyles was the man who opened up this race, the leader. Then you saw a little bit of Cameron Albertson. Albertson ended up out of the race rather quickly, and all of a sudden now the field in the hands of the 91 Aaron Schugel. He finds himself the leader here with 120 laps to go when he makes it across the line yet again, and it looks like in a good position to just keep logging those laps. Very little trouble from here on out. Just gotta stay patient, stay calm, and work his magic as he's done all throughout the season. Shannon Milliken has decided to stay on pit road for the time being, and it looks like maybe confident he can get back on the track here with more than 90 seconds to repair so far. Shannon will go 4 laps down at the minimum, and that will give Chris Mullins the 7th position, Rodney Roberts 6th, so on and so forth. 6 drivers left on the lead lap at 46 laps so far. Halfway point going to be coming up in about 35, 36 laps. And so now this opening stint, seeing 1 driver clearing away up on top. Now by north of 5 seconds, Aaron Schugel is out and dominating this event. So now for Schugel, the question becomes, is there any additional goal in mind besides getting the race win here? I'm sure that if he is able to keep setting these solid laps, he'll lap a few more drivers. Notably, looking up just ahead, Rodney Roberts right now going to be 28 seconds back on the lead. Aaron Fontaine going to be 21 seconds behind. Make that 22 as a matter of fact, as he just made it through across the stripe. So these drivers are not close to your leader in the slightest. As a matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. Instead now, Aaron Schugel is getting closer to them from behind. And Aaron just has to keep moving those laps down, lap after lap, trying to put more into the picture. Of course, with respect to being aggressive, he doesn't really have to be. He's got the lead, and he has it comfortably. Now, it's about settling in, finding that nice rhythm, and the groove that he looks to have now rather strong. Maybe going to help him out, of course, in providing an opportunity to build that gap further, but 5.5 seconds, really little more that he can ask for from this point. Closest battle on the racing circuit going to go down to Jake Raven and Corey Lyles once again. Keep in mind right now, Lyles is 3.5 seconds ahead of Jake Raven. The lap times are where the battles can truly be found. As it stands, Raven that time by running a 35.183, and he looked to be 0.3 of a second slower that time by than Corey Lyles. Top 3 drivers are running under the 35-second barrier, and it looks like now the quickest of which is still leader Aaron Schugel. That time by, though, Corey Lyles 3/1000ths of a second quicker than second place Thomas Coonan. And although the number 56 machinist put himself in a really good spot now, of course, running lap after lap alone in third, if he has the goal to make it a second place run, he's got to keep on gaining no matter the cost. Let's take a look inside the cockpit now with the 56. Corey Lyles making his way through. Let's take a look. And for a lap here, we'll watch on board with Corey Lyles and figure out what he's doing to keep making gains. You can see now the immense difference in pace between Corey Lyles and just ahead of him, Chris Mullins. And mostly it comes down to the way they're driving through the corners here. You'll see Mullins going up high to start and dropping quickly down low. Lyles is going to be a lot more gradual with the way he goes about it, and instead letting that lap come to him as the race goes on. Of course, lap after lap, letting the later portion do the work. Doesn't drive in all too aggressively or funnel it down to the inside. Instead, decides to put himself in a good spot to just settle in and then power out. That's the way he's done it, lap in, lap out, for the better part of this opening stint. 53 laps in, out of 165, and Lyles is now getting right up there to the back bumper of Mullins. Let's see what he does with that in mind. He's going to duck down low, and Chris Mullins now going to find himself one lap down and further behind with Corey Lyles making it through. Shannon Milliken is going to be 12 laps down and still on the track. It looks like deciding not to retire despite what looks to be effectively terminal damage. 12 laps down at this rate with 112 laps to go would require quite a few yellow flags for him to get back, but of course, looking for the points, staying in this race would be beneficial as Rodney Roberts now goes one lap down. It's going to be only now 5 drivers on the lead lap as Rodney's going to fall behind. Aaron Fontaine is 24 seconds back now on leader Aaron Schugel and will be the next target for the number 91 in mind, of course, when he gets down to that point. We'll cross the bridge when we come to it, and now only 5 drivers left on the lead lap of the 10 that started. Massive attrition race in these opening 55 laps. Now on to the second stint. We have 20-some laps remaining until pit cycles come back into play. Roberts with heavy left side damage. You can see the front end all crumpled up. That's what's going to be what does him in tonight. It looks like the biggest trouble for him is worrying about what's going on with the wheel well here. Suspension damage looks to be at a minimum. He's still driving. However, if we take a look inside the cockpit, you might see a little bit of a change on the steering wheel axis. And while perhaps a little towed out, Rodney Roberts looks to be just fine as we take a look inside the cockpit here. Damage, while not minimal, aerodynamically is enough for him to keep on going regardless of concern, and that will keep Rodney right now in the 6th spot with Aaron Fontaine. They're in 5th, 25 seconds back, coming to be what's going to be 26 seconds back. Fontaine will be the next driver to get caught up by Aaron Schugel, and you can see now the number 91 is making waves lap after lap, pushing at the quickest pace. That time by a 1/10.5 quicker than any other driver. Aaron Schugel is on the move, and with another victory here from the one he got at Daytona, he could cement himself as the championship leader. His teammate Corey Lyles in 3rd will make it a close fight. But with 108 laps left, looks like now Aaron's got a real good chance to just hold fort, make it to the very end, and that's going to be the best thing that could possibly happen for his team. While Thomas Coonan's having a good night, he's been alone, and second place, not treating him all too kindly. Really no other battle going on for Coonan. He got up to second, got close about 30-some laps to go, but ever since, Corey Lyles and Aaron Schugel, of course, switched places, and Aaron Schugel said goodbye to the battle. Coonan has been in second and has been put there firmly, and to this point remains far behind. We'll see, of course, whether or not he's able to find his way out and dig through that hole, but for Thomas Coonan right now, it looks like there's very little else that can be done. 6 seconds ahead of Corey Lyles and 7 seconds ahead of course, the number 91, Aaron Schugel, is 7 seconds ahead of Thomas Coonan. He is in the middle of one of the biggest gaps, driver to driver here, and all drivers now throughout the pack are spread out by at least 4 seconds from one another. Cody Linscott going to be rooting for Rodney Roberts, and Rodney right now going to find himself in 6th. Looks like the PRA number 29 team have been able to hang on for a top 10, no question, and maybe going to hold out hope for a top 5 if something happens up ahead. But Rodney has fallen back and now is looking for the better opportunities throughout the field, which are due to come. First and foremost, though, he's just got to keep himself going lap after lap in this position, which is the challenge for everyone now. Shannon Milligan going back into that race control role, whereas the rest of the field keeps on driving. That will give us 7 drivers still going at it. Number 18, Aaron Fontaine finds himself now concluding the top 5. Fontaine today started in the 6th spot, so up 1 position, and of all the drivers who are still racing, well, it looks like they've all, for the most part, made gains, with a big exception of Corey Lyles from 1st down to 3rd, and then you'll see 3rd to 6th for Rodney Roberts, 5th to 7th for Chris Mullins. However, 10th up to 2nd, the hard charger practically by default. Thomas Coonan making it from last on the grid and the only driver not to take a lap, all the way up now to 2nd, where he's been admittedly lonely and comfortable in that position all night long. 10th to 2nd, the biggest move so far on the night, and for Aaron Schugel, while his teammate was able to grab the pole, Aaron had to start in 4th and had to avoid the carnage that came out on that very first lap with Cameron Albertson, and that's what made the difference. And now Aaron Schugel finds himself on the better end of this battle, whereas, of course, Thomas Coonan, Corey Lyles, and those on back haven't quite gotten room to maybe make something happen, and they've all got room around themselves, but no other trucks to really deal with as the night progresses. Aaron Fontaine will be the next to find another truck, if anything, because Thomas Coonan is coming into play very soon. You can see now Aaron Schugel is as well, and Schugel is coming quicker, coming out of turn 4 this time by. The 91 going to be making it through about a straightaway behind on Aaron Fontaine, which would leave that time through 4 drivers left on the lead lap. Still to be official, though, and with 102 laps left, a long time to come for this man in the 91. Aaron Schugel's got to keep working at it here if he wants to seal the deal up and ahead. Taking a look a little bit further back once more, Jake Raven going to be in 4th, where he's been throughout this stint. It looks like he's fallen a little bit further back. That time by his lap time and Corey Lyles only separate by 1/1000th. However, the net difference overall has been more than noticeable. If anything, it's been to the disadvantage of the number 37. Jake Raven perhaps not able to find the speed as the race has progressed to put him in that picture to hold on to Corey Lyles, and strategy didn't really seem to be what did him in entirely, because he was on pit road for a similar amount of time. His pit box time anyway was identical at 14.2 seconds. The difference, pit lane, he was there for 0.6 of a second more, and on pit lane, 0.1 of a second, well, that means a lot more than just 1/10. It could mean up to a full second, and that explains the 6-second gap now, which puts a major disadvantage out for the 37 team, who now run in 4th. If he was identical exactly, it would have been a close fight to this moment, but Raven, unfortunately, having to suffer the consequences of fading back early with 100 laps remaining now on the book. As Aaron Schugel comes across the line this time through, we'd like to thank our friends at iRacing Motorsports Simulations for leading online sim racing for now more than 16 years. Visit iRacing.com for more information about how you can register with discounts of over 30% off, and check out the official eNASCAR newsletter. Scan the QR code on your screen to learn all about the up-and-coming in professional oval sim racing, including those driving in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and find out how you can join the Road to Pro ladder. We'll be right back after the following message, courtesy of our friends at iRacing Motorsports Simulations. You're watching now the Road to the Midwest 200 with 98 laps to go. We'll be right back after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
96 laps remaining as it stands. Aaron Schugel going to be at the head of the field even still, and it looks like with 70 laps on the book so far, very little has changed all throughout the pack. Most of the field going to remain spread out now, and the big challenge for Aaron Schugel is whether or not he can get up to the next lap driver. Of course, he's got Aaron Fontaine in his sight, but 27 seconds back, Aaron Fontaine has done a good enough job holding forward. 69 laps in for Aaron. A nice job indeed, preserving his lead lap status. 30 laps into this stint anyway, and it looks like now just more than 10 laps until we head down a pit road to do it all over again. And this stint is going to provide drivers the opportunity to make their way down and in and figure out whether or not they have what it takes to go the distance here. Most drivers, I would say all of which still on the lead lap, definitely should. Tire saving might not even be much of a problem for a driver like Aaron Schugel because he went in early and as a result decided to get himself done quickly. 40 laps in, then he went down, and now he might be going for a little bit of a longer stint here. He has the room and he's got it in a real good position anyway, so I doubt now that Aaron Schugel is going to try to rush things, and instead he'll find himself maybe taking a little bit easier to get a lap or two out of it in this final stretch. With 7 seconds of a lead built up, I wouldn't think that Aaron Schugel is worrying in the slightest. Thomas Coonan right now going to be the second spot. He got down to as low as about 90-some miles an hour coming through the first two turns, but nevertheless still looking quick as he can be. Still 0.4 of a second faster than Corey Lyles that time by. Overall, no gap between drivers is closing. Everyone is getting more and more spread out, and the race pace difference is massive from driver to driver, even though most drivers went down a pit road at the exact same time. The only difference is really going to be Rodney Roberts. Everyone went down and in about 32, 33 laps to go. Rest of the field has been practically identical on strategy tonight, and yet it looks like they're all still in very different places. Nobody else going to be going at it side by side or even for a close battle that is single file. And instead, now that everything is opened up, drivers are getting themselves settled in for that full-on long haul. Here's the number 18 of Aaron Fontaine once again. He's in fifth. He's been there for a while. Now 30 seconds back on your leader, and it looks like now on lap truck watch, Jake Raven will be up next, now 21 seconds behind, and could be Aaron Schugel's target after Aaron Fontaine is through with. Raven enters turns 1 and 2. That time by, he was 1/10 of a second faster on the lap than Aaron Fontaine, so Aaron in a little bit more trouble, and Aaron Schugel now trying to put him a lap down. Overall, Aaron was going to be only 1/10 of a second quicker that time by, so the gap has been increasing for Fontaine to fall back, but not by much. Take a look on board now briefly with Aaron Schugel as he heads through 3 and 4. And if we didn't have proof before that he was saving tire and fuel, well, that's exactly what we needed to hear. Schugel clutching and coasting through the corners. So in essence, Aaron Schugel has decided to cut the engine through the corners at least a few laps apiece. And right there you can see no sound coming out of that cockpit, and that's because Aaron Schugel has decided again to, of course, shut down the power, and no need to run the engine all too much when he's got such a race lead. Although Thomas Coonan is gaining, it's not by all too much, and now Rodney Roberts commits after 43 laps on this run. 89 laps to go this time by, and as Rodney Roberts makes his way down and in, he'll be the first of many, and signaling now that there are only 5 or 6 more laps to go on this run. Shannon Milliken going to be down a pit road as he was previously, and Jake Raven decides to do something a little bit different. He'll head down a pit road early and follow in the footsteps of Rodney Roberts. So as Jake Raven drops down and in, additionally, he's got some company. That's going to be Corey Lyles, and there's the number 56 all over again. Currently going to find himself in third, and as Corey Lyles makes his way through here, 36 laps seems to be the move for some drivers, although they went more than 38, 39, or even 40 that previous stint here. So we'll see if the short second stint is the preferable move for some drivers more than others, and if it has any impact, as Aaron Schugel decides not to short pit it here. He's going to try to go a little bit longer, and his intention was clear by the time he started clutching and coasting. Aaron Schugel deciding to figure things out for the long term rather than going for a quick fix. And it looks like for now it's worked out quite well in his favor. There's a reason he's up and ahead by now 7 seconds relative to the next driver. Coming down and in, Aaron Fontaine in the number 18. Looks like Aaron now going to come in after 38 laps, and most recently Corey Lyles came in during the same cycle, 37 laps. That's how long Jake Raven went. And here we go again with another group of drivers making it in. The second wave, the second batch, however you call it or however you slice it, we're now down to only 2 drivers who have decided not to head down a pit road for this run. 3, as a matter of fact, you include lapper Chris Mullins, but on the lead lap right now, fighting for the checkered flag, Schugel and Thomas Coonan. Those are the drivers to watch. Here now, Aaron Schugel's going to make his way down and in. Not this time anyway, and he's going to wait a little bit longer. 40 laps on the road for both he and Thomas Coonan. However, this time by, Thomas Coonan will concede and lay down his opportunity up in front and get down a pit road, get some service, and then get back on the way. This could temporarily bring the entire field 1 lap under Aaron Schugel, and that's going to give him a chance for an effectively free pit stop if he decides to go the route of putting the entire field 1 lap down. He's only got now 20 more seconds to go to get up to Thomas Coonan again, and it looks like that he will. Coming across the stripe here, Aaron Schugel decides to stay out for what will be his 41st lap on the hunt, and that's going to bring Thomas Coonan now 1 lap down. Everyone in the field 1 lap down to Aaron Schugel now, as Aaron is going to be pushing on this lap. That time by 35.432, one of the quickest laps he's had in him all throughout this stint, and it looks like reversing tire degradation in order to put these drivers even further behind. Now Aaron has every reason to come in very soon. Whether or not he tries to here and now, looks like he's not going to commit early, and the number 91 remains on the track. 1 lap down, Thomas Coonan here in second, and SimPulse Paintworks finding themselves far out of the race leading mix, and it looks like Aaron Schugel going to take a dagger to the heart of the field and bring himself up and ahead alone on the lead lap. Everyone else is going to have to play catch-up here with 83 laps to go and 83 laps complete. We've made it now to the halfway point of this race, and Aaron Schugel, splitting at 50-50, decides to come in after the second half, and the second quarter rather, come to a close. Aaron a little bit loose, no trouble there, and Thomas Coonan is going to be the driver who leads the field to get back on the lead lap, although he is not the overall race leader. Coonan now going to find himself getting back in the lead lap category, 30-some seconds back, and we'd like to thank SimPulse Paintworks for their consistent support all throughout the year. SimPulse Paintworks has been on the course truck here for the number 68 at Thomas Coonan, alongside the title sponsor for the Prodigy Racing Association, and provide the highest quality iRacing paint schemes that give you that bang for your buck money. Thomas Coonan, of course, proud to bring SimPulse Paintworks to the broader iRacing field and audience as a whole, and we'd love for you to check out his work that he does with that team. SimPulse Paintworks, your one-stop shop for iRacing paint needs, on, of course, the most efficient budget or anything that you desire. Quality and cost kept in check. SimPulse Paintworks has exactly what you need. Check out a little bit of a message put together by the SimPulse crew, and we'll be right back after the following message here. You're watching live on FTN. Exclusive coverage here of the SimPulse Legacy Truck Series continues, and here and now, it's going to be SimPulse Paintworks giving you a message. Check out SimPulse Paintworks, of course. We'd love to have you support the Prodigy Racing Association and all their local associated businesses. 86 laps in out of 165, and Thomas Coonan in the 68 still finds himself runner-up. No question tonight, Aaron Schugel is the man, and now it's official. There are only 4 drivers left on the lead lap, getting by Aaron Fontaine. Aaron Schugel able to do so on this pit cycle, and you can see him now just ahead of the 18. With the exception of that opening yellow flag, tonight might be one of the most impressive and most dominant performances of the year. We've gone flag to flag from that point, and from lap 5 onward, 160 laps on the table for the field, and tonight, Aaron Schugel has no doubt already led a good majority of them. The numbers, well, they speak for themselves. Right now, Aaron Schugel has led 85 laps out of 86, making 86 of 87, and he has the opportunity to go all the way, leading almost every lap, all but one, and that one led by Cameron Albertson, who was unfortunately taken out in that lap 2 incident. And now, it looks like it's going to be Aaron Schugel instead, putting himself in the position to go from flag to flag. Even though that first lap got away from him, nothing else has, and he's been practically impossible to get out of the rhythm. He has been the best in the field, no doubt. Schugel finds himself now leading. You take a little bit of a look back once again, and although only one other driver has led on the day, still some very stout competition while spread out now. It's a little bit more of a very spread out field. Let's say that one more time, because now there is no gap between 2 drivers that is shorter than 7 seconds. Everyone in the entire field is separate from each other by at least 7 seconds. So from driver to driver, you would have to go through a full corner and a half to get to the next man ahead of you or behind you, as Corey Lyles now is going to make his way out of turn 4. Now it's going to be coming into turn 3, Jake Raven. That's how big the difference is between every driver in the field now. at the minimum. Not to mention now, Aaron Fontaine finds himself 16 seconds behind Jake Raven. And then from there, it's going to be Rodney Roberts who finds himself 30 seconds behind Aaron Fontaine. And then, additionally, 12 seconds behind Rodney Roberts is Chris Mullins. It is a very spread out field tonight. Most of these drivers have found themselves alone for the majority of the race, but now it's really even more exaggerated than it was previously, and maybe not going to help out the drivers all too much, but instead giving them an opportunity to settle into their own racing laps, and maybe it'll just help them now in getting this race to the checkered flag, where I'm sure everyone but Aaron Schugel wants to be for a negative reason, and I'm sure Aaron Schugel would love to get to race victory with another checkered flag in hand, which would be 2 wins in the past 3 races, and a massive turnaround on the season now for Aaron Schugel, as he has his sights set on racing for the championship. And you gotta wonder, with Thompson coming up next, a short circuit that we don't often have a lot of time at, regardless of racing league, what now can Aaron Schugel do? Getting this second victory would be massive for his championship race, but it is crucial that he keeps on performing. This is not going to necessarily lock him into the championship by any means. First and foremost, there's still 2 races left and still a ton of stout competitors. One bad race could knock him out all the same, and even though he's got himself a victory, his last win came in the regular season. With that reset in points in mind, this would be the most important race he's had so far. Not to say, of course, that this is a bad race to win. That's not the message I'm going to try to send. It's more so the fact that it is not going to be open and shut even if he wins tonight and tries to go for it all over again. The championship race will not be over, but it could be clearly in his favor if he just puts it all together for a few more laps. .72 laps to go. Aaron Schugel finding himself and see what's going on inside the cockpit with the number 91. Aaron Schugel will ride on board with your lonely leader. And above all else, Aaron Schugel is not really being a very aggressive driver right now, and still is making time on the drivers who are far behind him. He's clutching and coasting through each and every one of those corners here, and it looks like that's going to be what most often gets him in to pit cycles a little bit later, trying to save an extra lap or 2 in fuel and making a much more comfortable day if he can just keep to that strategy. 70 laps remaining. That's the difference right now between where we are and where the checkered flag is due to be, and I'm certain right now every driver has their eyes set on making it to the very end of this one. 6 seconds back is going to be Thomas Coonan, who runs firmly in the runner-up spot. It looks like tonight going to be the bridesmaid yet again, and of course Coonan, he's experienced victory lane, but I'm sure he'd love to see it a few more times, maybe a little bit more than what he's seen already. He finds himself now in that second spot, and far and ahead now, 10 seconds up on Corey Lyles. Lyles now makes it by the ailing Chris Mullins. And Chris, 2 laps down, no choice but to give up another position. So, Corey going to be in 3rd here, then Jake Raven in 4th, Aaron Fontaine in 5th, Rodney Roberts in 6th, and Chris Mullins then in 7th. So far, anyway, only 3 retirees on the day of the 10 that registered, notably being in succession: Shannon Milliken, Caden Perkins, and Cameron Albertson. Rest of the field has kept on going, and right now for Chris Mullins, he's the last driver on the track and looking to lock up some good points regardless of where he finishes here. A top 5 for everyone on the lead lap, and one lapper in Aaron Fontaine. And that's the way the field's going to be distributed and given out so far. 3 drivers are going to be within 20 seconds of your race lead. Only 2 within 10, and then of course you have Aaron Schugel, who's on a world of his own when it comes to that race pace. And now Thomas Kunin's coming up on some lappers as well. Let's see how he deals with those that are directly ahead of him. And of course, navigating through the field, up next it will be Aaron Fontaine and Rodney Roberts here. Rodney going to be 2 laps down. Aaron Fontaine 1 lap down. So not only are there lappers ahead, but in addition, there's a different sort of lapper. It's not just going to be drivers who are 1 lap down, but those who are 2 laps down and then on out. It's going to be a difference between those who are maybe still given an opportunity to maybe make it back up to the lead lap versus those who almost absolutely don't have that much a chance. So Roberts right now is going to be leading Aaron Fontaine around, and Thomas Kunin, of course, will be coming up next here. But much like Aaron Schugel, I doubt now that anyone is going to be going at full power. Let's take a look inside Thomas Kunin's cockpit and see if he's clutching and coasting. Contrary to what we saw out of Thomas Kunin's rival in this race and Aaron Schugel, well, it looks like the 68 is still hard on the gas pedal and has decided not to go for the clutching and coasting method, and he is still, somehow anyway, losing time. Just goes to show, even with a more aggressive approach tonight, the number 68 simply does not have the pace, and it looks like just being bested tonight, sometimes how it goes, to put it pretty simply. 64 laps to go here. Aaron Schugel has proven to be the better driver, lap in, lap out. And I'm sure it's a race to be proud of for the 91 team, but the job is not finished. Just over 100 laps have been completed so far. And you have to imagine now a lot more time from here on out for the drivers to really put themselves in good position. Sun is still slowly but surely setting here, but it looks like overall there will be enough daylight to bring the drivers home when all is completed. Here now, Aaron Schugel comes across the line now with a 6.5 second race lead. It looks like 6.5 seconds back is Jake Raven on Corey Lyles, and admittedly he has not gained a bit and is only losing time to Aaron Schugel as well to go 1 lap down. Rodney Roberts now finds himself a full lap behind Aaron Fontaine, and it looks like with Rodney's damage he has lost that spot, and he's going to have to give up next to Thomas Kunin coming up shortly. Take a look on the deck lid of the number 29. Kunin now going to make that lunge into turns 1 and 2, clearly quicker, and you can see he's also got a younger set of rubber. Rodney Roberts has been on his stint now for 27 laps, whereas Thomas Kunin has been good for 24. All things considered now for Thomas Kunin, he does have the clear-cut advantage and now just has to use it as he plows out of the inside. Rodney Roberts goes up top and gives up that spot rather easily. That's going to move Thomas Kunin up no positions, admittedly. However, still works out just right to keep himself up there in track position as he now goes on to get Aaron Fontaine. For all the faults so far of Rodney Roberts' night, Chris Mullins has still been slower and actually lost a full second over that ordeal, even though Rodney got held up in the mix. Chris Mullins has that right side damage, looks to be just about as critical as what's going on for Rodney Roberts, if not more. Both drivers are going to be scuffed and scarred, which is how both Caden Perkins and Shannon Milliken ended up down and out. For the time being, it looks like both of which are still driving and hoping to hang on till tail end. Aaron Schugel has 59 laps to go here. Up behind him is still going to be Thomas Coonan, who has gained a few tenths of a second, but no notable gains have been found from any drivers so far. Let's talk about the weather since we have a little bit of time here. 76 degrees, and winds are going to be westbound at about 7 miles an hour. Partly cloudy. That's overall been the forecast all day, but the track temperature is something we have to touch upon too. Right now, track temp, it is very, very fair. It's only 81 degrees Fahrenheit here, which is a minimal difference from the ambient temperature, which means the driver's tires are not getting all too warmed up, which could explain why someone like Aaron Schugel was able to pull a 35-second lap out the bag to finish off his tire run, just based on the excessive saving he used to get that advantage in the final laps of the stint here. That explains now why he's so far up and ahead, 6.5 seconds up, and overall conditions working in his favor. 57 laps to go here for Aaron Schugel. We'll see what he's got next up. And how about now taking a look on board for what could be yet another battle? Aaron Fontaine and Thomas Coonan. It looks like for the time being, Thomas Coonan still finds himself behind. Let's take a look now from the deck lid again of the number 18. For Aaron Fontaine, it almost becomes like mirror driving at a certain point when you see a driver in that truck like Thomas Coonan making up time. And unfortunately, you do not want to become full-on mirror driving, because at that point you try to spot the difference between your rival's line and the one that you're running here. For Aaron Fontaine's sake, especially given the fact these two drivers are not on the lead lap, it would be preferable anyway if he just stays confident in what he's got, rather than, of course, trying to make a move, adjust his racing line, and trying to switch up anything overall. It would be better anyway if Aaron Fontaine just decided to stay where he is and hold forward. Don't give in, and of course you can't give up now with how much time we put together, but Thomas Coonan will be arriving into the picture eventually here. Can't really stop it. The best you can do is go forth with your race as if nothing really comes of it, which admittedly there's really no implications for Thomas Coonan and Aaron Fontaine. They're not really battling against each other. They're just on the same track, sort of coexisting. They're there together, but for completely different reasons, and that's what's helped Thomas Coonan right now. Really nobody else he's directly going up against. He's been on his own world, running at his own pace, and that's helped him out the most. Now, one driver who has kept rather quiet so far today is Corey Lyles. Ever since he got that pass done on Jake Raven, it looks like he's taken third. He's run with it, but he really hasn't done all too much else here. He found the checkered flag just as recent as a week ago, but now tonight, looks like third place is the best he can settle for. Able to get that jump out from the pole position early, but the contact with Cameron Albertson admittedly changed the course of this event. Whether or not it directly changed the way that Lyles was driving is up for debate, but it definitely changed the way he had to approach that opening stint. And since the first 5 laps were the only yellow flag period of the day, it looks like now Corey Lyles has just had to deal with the circumstance he's been put in, admittedly, partially in fact by his own actions, and now a podium looks to be the best outcome possible. Now, a top 3, by no means a bad thing to, of course, settle for, but Corey Lyles now with those expectations of victory. Lyles has finally made his way now to checkered flag and victory lane in the Legacy Truck Series, and the taste of that will only allow for more desire to make it work and go further, pushing himself to new limits to find victory lane again and again. Repetition is going to be the key to his success. Lyles does need perhaps a victory or two to really lock down the championship with only 2 races remaining. He'll need a good performance at Thompson and definitely a standout performance at Richmond, the track which will determine the championship. And I'm certain now that maybe his focus is up next on preparing for those 2 respective tracks. The Legacy Truck Series coming down to 2 final races up next. The schedule comes down to some short tracks to finish the job and see who's got what it takes to come out as the inaugural champion here in the... Let's see now as Corey Lyles takes it down the back straightaway how lonely it is. Really nobody in sight for him ahead or behind as Rodney Roberts now comes in for what will be his final pit stop of the day. Pit cycle back on the move, and Roberts will lead him through. Interesting to note, Roberts is coming in now with 50 laps to go. After a 38-lap stint, this might not be his final stop after all. We might see a 4-stop race, and it looks like most drivers will be a few laps short here. Roberts now going to make his way in, down and in, with 3 laps down overall. Aaron Schugel is still going, but is he clutching and coasting? We're going to find out here. Maybe Aaron's got the secret to making it all the way, but I highly doubt now that's what's going to happen. For reference, Aaron Schugel would have to go some 7 or 8 laps to be fully safe to make it to the end of this race intact as your race winner without having to go for that second pit stop in the final 50 laps here. Now, it looks like he should be on good track to do so as long as he just keeps on with the same formula of clutching and coasting lap after lap through the corners. He's been rather consistent so far. He'll just have to hang on for 6 or 7 more laps. 48 laps to go. This time by, we're approaching the final 50 laps of action here live on FTN. We'd like to thank some of our associates as we have a little bit of time in between the pit stop cycle and the final laps here. You're watching live on FTN and you won't miss a thing. We'll be right back after the following message courtesy of our friends from Throttle Graphics and Designs and of course, a few others who have decided to stop by, such as Admin Box and, notably as well, Westlake, the official premier partners of the Highline Racing League. We'll be right back after the following messages from our associates and friends of the channel.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Yellow flag is out, and Thomas Kunin is the cause. Take a look at this here, sliding out of turn 2, the 68 loose, up and down the track, and he will spin it there, which will bring out the caution, and now this race is going to come down to a 40-some lap sprint. Yellow flag going to fly now, and we'll take a look back live. Aaron Schugel, your leader, with Corey Lyles, Thomas Kunin, the top 3, and Aaron Fontaine going to be now down at pit road, as is Jake Raven and Rodney Roberts. And now Fontaine getting the damage repaired, leaving Roberts and Raven right there. There are now 3 drivers left on the lead lap with 44 laps remaining. Field is going to be put together once again. And now we'll see what the 91 can do at the front of the field. And with them, 2 laps to green, Rodney Roberts and Thomas Kunin going to be sent to the end of line, given a penalty after that incident. Chris Mullins is disconnected from the session as well, so it looks like he will end his race prematurely. And now 6 drivers remain on the track, going back to Rodney Roberts in the number 29 here. So it's a quite small field that will remain to finish off this race, but they're looking to finish it off strong here with only double that now, 43 laps to go, 26 to go. We might see a few more drivers come down a pit road if they decide to split the stints. It looks like now, though, most drivers should be comfortable in making it to the end on this set of fuel and tire. And now that what's left of the fuel, and of course fuel load anyway, is put into the drivers' trucks, and now the field is put together again. While small, we've got ourselves a pack looking to fight for the win. 3 drivers looking for the opportunity. Aaron Schugel has been dominant all race long. Corey Lyles on the high side, right there as well. He has been up top, and he's been on top of business since the beginning of the season, and now, after getting himself to victory lane, is looking to do it once again. Pace car going to let go this time by for the second restart of the race, and it's going to be Aaron Schugel and his JFR teammate up and in on the high side, looking to bring the field back to green. Green flag going to fly this time through with 42 laps remaining, and Aaron Schugel going to be the man who leads them down. Green flags out yet again, and Schugel is gonna get the jump. Now the 91 with the advantage, and he'll bring Aaron Fontaine right there with. Not much going to happen on that restart. Aaron Fontaine going to drop back, as he is a lapper for the time being, and let the 3 drivers still on the lead lap go at it. So if you're still on the lead lap for the time being now, you are guaranteed a podium finish. So not a half bad deal for the drivers that have stuck it out. But now we got to see whether or not anyone can get up to Aaron Schugel, and if it is anyone, who will it be? Corey Lyles, Thomas Kunin, do they have anything in it for one another? Or is the battle now entirely focused on the driver up at the front? I think now with 41 laps to go, you have to imagine that all eyes are going to be on getting that race win, and everything else is a loss, especially with the field getting that big reset. Thomas Coonan luckily not collecting any other driver in his incident, although it looked like maybe he could have been able to save it. I think at this point now, drivers are getting themselves recollected, understanding that the best thing to do is to keep on going and try to find a way to get that big change. Now, Aaron Fontaine with some damage smacking up the left side of his truck. And it does look major, although I'm not quite sure if that will be terminal and day-ending. Aaron deciding to stay on the circuit now while the wheel well is exposed. It looks like Aaron deciding to hold tough for the 4th place he's got and doesn't want to give it up, especially since both drivers behind him are 2 laps under him. Fontaine is going to be 1 lap down. Jake Raven, Rodney Roberts are a total of 3 laps down, both of them. And now it's going to be number 68 of Thomas Coonan coming up again on Corey Lyles here. Let's see what the 68 can do, trying to make it by Lyles and the JFR duo up in front, while Coonan, for the first time all season long, running independent and without teammates. Thomas not yet able to make it by, and it looks like now he's got Corey Lyles just ahead of him, maybe not blocking per se, but he has kept the proper line to keep the number 68 at bay. He hasn't had to worry about Thomas diving deep until now, and so the number 68 moves low, not afraid to make contact. Here goes Corey Lyles up top. They'll beat and bang, and now Lyles is going to get moved out the way the hard way. Coonan right by Lyles. That will put Corey down to 3rd. And so Thomas Coonan able to make it right by Corey Lyles, and we'll take a look inside, or rather on board, with the number 68 and bring it back to show you the tape exactly as he made the move to get by Corey Lyles for that 2nd position. Take a look once again. And he made 2 instances of contact in that pass, and now finds himself north of a 2nd ahead of Corey Lyles, whose tires ended up drifting up a little bit too much, and now with a little bit more tire wear, definitely at that disadvantage. Perhaps one of the more aggressive moves made by Thomas Coonan so far this season, and going right up against Corey Lyles. He does not make it easy, and Lyles is going to have to give in, but not by choice. So Corey, forced straight out of the way there, going to find himself now in the 3rd position. And we'll see what happens next with 36 laps left on the table. 3 drivers are still going to be on the lead lap here, and Aaron Shugel's gotten away by a 2.5 seconds. As he's been up there all night long, Aaron Schugel is looking to continue, and the number 91 right now doing a fantastic job at that. Coming now around with 35 laps to go. Pit road is something we have to talk about a little bit, only because we are not quite sure whether or not every driver will be able to make it all the way. Some of which, who have been very, very smart about the entire situation, should be able to go the way through clutching and coasting. However, not every driver has decided to take that method of fuel saving into account, which gives us a little bit of a dilemma here, because we went down a pit road just about on the border of being safe to go all the way. So with 30-some laps left, I'm thinking Aaron Schugel, he's going to be safe. There is almost no way now that he's going to come down a pit road lest he really messes up his strategy here. He's been doing the same thing lap after lap, and it looks like he's figured out a way to prevent a lot of tire wear, a lot of fuel wear, and he's been a little bit less aggressive on how he's treated his truck tonight, and that's going to pay dividends as the race progresses. The goal overall for Schugel now is just to make it to the end, and that should be the safety net necessary to get the checkered flag without having to worry about all those behind him. And of course, notably, you look right behind, and there's going to be Thomas Coonan in that second spot, 1.2 seconds behind, and it looks like while he is slightly gaining, the gains have not been enough, and now he's leveling out once again with the number 91. Meanwhile, Thomas Coonan, he's definitely trying a little bit harder, as you can hear the difference in the engines as we go on board with them. Let's take a look on board with Thomas Coonan through turns 1 and 2, and then Aaron Schugel through 3 and 4. Well, how about we do it in reverse? This is Aaron Schugel through the first 2 turns. less on the engine, more clutching and coasting. Meanwhile, for Thomas Kunin, the difference is clear. Thomas Kunin is still going to be on the loud pedal, even though, of course, the number 68 machine of Kunin has had a little bit more trouble gaining time. Well, he finds himself still second on the back. We'll take a lap on board fully now with Thomas and see what he's got in him. Kunin across the line there is not going to gain anything. Matter of fact, loses about a half a second now with 29 laps left to go. 16 laps so far for Thomas Kunin's stint, and it looks like despite the fact he's pushing a little bit harder, it's actually sort of worked against him. The reason being could come down to multiple factors. I think the first of which, honestly, is simply that Aaron Schugel does not care. That might not sound necessarily correct. He certainly cares about the racing at hand, and it's not like he's given up, but Schugel is not looking behind. He has no reason to. He's not going to be preoccupied by how another driver attempts to go around the circuit. He has not had any reason to really think about anything of that sort. Instead, Aaron has been locked in, focusing on himself and prioritizing the way that he's driven since the very beginning. Whereas Kunin, of course, right now, trying to perhaps compensate for the drivers around him, is driving a bit of a different certain way. He understands that to get to the race lead, he'd have to put the power down as one driver heading down a pit road, or rather in trouble, Corey Lyles is going to go spinning. And it looks like Corey ends up in the grass, similar to Thomas Kunin, but no caution flies. Take a look at this one here with Thomas Kunin, of course, getting away from a very similar incident. Yellow flag does fly for Corey Lyles now. Lyles up the track, hits the wall, and very similar, nearly identical, brings the 56 down to the grass, and it looks like the front end damage and the right side going to be compounded the most. Otherwise, it looks like Lyles was able to get away from that one, and with 27 laps to go, we're under caution for the third time on the night. And so, Aaron Schugel, seeing his teammate get in some trouble, of course, knowing now Lyles is not going to lose a podium spot regardless, it's a rather comfortable position to be in. 26 laps to go here, and I can't imagine drivers will be skipping on pit road. I think, honestly, right now we're going to see that final pit cycle just as a little bit of a safety net. It's not going to be about whether or not you need it, but instead, why not put yourself out of worry, out of hesitation, and go all out? We won't see any of that clutch and coast any longer, and instead, we're going to be seeing some full-on racing from here. Down low, here comes Aaron Schugel, here comes Thomas Kunin, and right behind him, here comes Corey Lyles. The top three, the only of which on the lead lap, have made their way down a pit road yet again, and strategy won't be perhaps the most exciting here, but it will be essential to seeing who wins in this event. Do or die race for these drivers in the championship picture, and now Schugel and Kunin are fighting for the victory, both of which come down a pit road respectively. Let's see who wins the race off between the two, as Lyles is expected to take substantial damage repairs. At the stripe, Thomas Kunin barely getting the advantage there, and the 68 will, I believe, grab the race lead. Kunin going to be right behind. Contact! And it looks like that one might have been intentional. Both drivers now going to be going at each other and hooking each other down the back straightaway. We have trouble under yellow. Both drivers going at full speed and going back and forth into each other, bumping once, twice. Schugel trying to get away. Coonan right still on the back end. They both got to calm down here if they want to make it to the end of this race. There's 25 laps to go, and you don't see anything like that based on coincidence. So we might be shaping up to see a vicious fight to the end here, to say the least. And sparks are flying. What could be future tempers flaring. Bad news up and ahead. 25 laps to go. Aaron Schugel leading, and it looks like the iRacing pace car signaling officially 2 laps until we go green again. We'll be right back after some additional messages from our friends on FTN, notably and namely the Highline Racing League, who provided, of course, 2 seasons of great racing under the Westlake banner, and we've been with FTN and Highline Racing League for 4 seasons now. We just kicked off season 18 last night, and a fantastic race it was. Ty Smith coming home with the win. If you want to learn more about the Highline Racing League, this message is for you. We'll be right back after a promotional word from our friends at the Highline Racing League.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building.
Race.
Welcome back, race fans, to the World Center of Racing Daytona International Speedway. We get set for our second on-track activity today.
Racing requires everything that you've got. Climbing into NASCAR on Sunday, it feels like you're getting ready to go into battle.
When I hit that ignition switch, that car fires up. It's one of the best things in the world.
Coming back green this time by with 22 laps remaining. 3 drivers left on the lead lap, and it's going to be Aaron Schugel and Corey Lyles lining up side by side, inside and outside. Contact array. Jake Raven's going to go around. Thomas Coonan in the wall. Yellow flag. Does it fly? No, it does not. Thomas Coonan now down to pit road. We still stay green, and no call going to be made. Jake Raven the lapper, Thomas Coonan also involved, and we are still going at it now with 22 laps remaining. And with that being said, 22 to go. As always, we're going to crank it up. And now, 22 laps remaining. Let's get it loud, courtesy of our friends at Track Cams for Gourmets. Visit trackcams22.com after tonight's broadcast as we crank it up now. JFR head-to-head for the win. Let's crank it up here from Gateway. 16 laps remaining here, 150 laps in the books, and I'm sure now, above all else, Aaron Schugel is maybe even more surprised than anything he's made it to this point. Thomas Kuhn retiring leaves 5 drivers left in the field. It's going to be now Aaron Schugel, Corey Lyles first and second, and Aaron Fontaine has been able to make his way up to the lead lap and now finds himself en route for what could be his first career podium. The number 18 machine has been waiting most of the season for this opportunity, but it looks like tonight, now he's got a chance. Coming down the back straightaway all alone, doesn't quite matter where relative to everyone else he is. He's locked in the lead lap, and everyone on the lead lap is in the podium, and currently anyway, vice versa. Looks like more than anything else, the opportunity for these drivers to come for the podium is effectively locked in, because for Rodney Roberts, he's in 4th and he's 2 laps down. Jake Raven is in 5th and finds himself 3 laps down. Raven's race really falling out of hand with strategy, and Roberts having to worry about damage repair too. It really just has not gone the way of the drivers in the field, no matter where you are. In all honesty, the only driver to avoid all the chaos, well, it's the man who's leading the way right now, Aaron Schugel. And here he is, now coming down the front straightaway all over again with a baker's dozen left to do it. He just has to come home in one piece to secure the victory, and his teammate has a chance to go through and secure a JFR 1-2 finish here. 1-2 run for JFR would be massive here in the championship standings. It would set up almost a head-to-head coming into Thompson and Richmond. I think now the most important thing for these two drivers is focusing on the future, and I think everyone's got their mind off of this race. Whether you're still racing or not, it unfortunately comes down to just being a long-winded action with very little action in between. You're going lap after lap against practically nobody, and that does not help. Of course, now these drivers having to deal with that and keeping in mind that there's very few drivers around them and the point standings might be a little bit more spread out. Now, patience being the most important thing, looks like Aaron Schugel has excelled. Short track racing will finish off the campaign, but our final mile-plus long track of the season looks to be in the hands of the number 91. He'll come across the line again to make it 11 laps to go here, and still he goes on his own, unchallenged and untested. 5.5 seconds now up on the next driver with 11 laps to go. Then you look now at Aaron Fontaine and Corey Lyles, and admittedly, it looks like maybe Aaron Fontaine is ever so slightly gaining. Nothing crazy just yet. However, in the last few laps, it looks like Aaron's been able to put away 1/10 of a second, then another 1/10 of a second, and so on and so forth, which might give us a chance to see the number 18 fight for position here. Gap now going to be 14/10 of a second. Above all else, it looks like now the number 18 machine of Aaron Fontaine having a chance to strike through for his first second-place finish, not only to go with his first ever podium. Maybe now the opportunity is going to come down to his own hands or the mistakes of those just up ahead. Corey Lyles, though, is looking solid, despite the fact Lyles has been involved in almost every yellow flag on the day. I mean, Corey almost getting away from that Thomas Kuhn incident. Could have been another one. He was involved in the very first and the second as well, and the third restart coming in as a result of a very similar spin, as it looks like Rodney Roberts with some trouble. He's going to lose some time, and it looks like he's going to be sailing down to the pit road. We'll see whether or not he's ending his race. Doesn't look like he is, but he's coming down to pit road because he needs service, and now with 9 laps to go, the final service-based pit stop of the day will come into play with Rodney Roberts after 40 laps on his stints. Aaron Schugel going to put Rodney now 3 laps down. This could give Jake the opportunity to get up to 4th, and as Jake Raven makes his way through the front straightaway while battered and bruised, yes indeed, now Raven is up into 4th. 1 spot away for the podium tonight, and it looks like Mr. Third Place, unfortunately, not going to find his home position and instead have to settle just behind it here. He gets up into 3rd. Rodney Roberts now falls back into 5th. Looks like just like that, the field settled down yet again. Whether or not they cruise out this way for 7 more laps remains to be seen. Aaron Fontaine's gains have relatively dissipated. He's not lost any time. However, he has not gained any. And it looks like now he finds himself stuck in the middle, not gaining, not losing time. And overall, it's a losing game when you're in a situation like that. Corey Lyle's going to be second here, 8 seconds behind race leader Aaron Schugel. The distance has been made up massively for Aaron here, and you can see the difference between him clutching and coasting, using less of the engine, and going all out. Right now, he's on full blast, and he has made everyone else in the field look incredibly slow just off the work of these final few laps. And it looks like Corey Lyles, well, he can't keep up with his teammate today, but he will settle for the next best thing, the next best finish. Second place on the day for Lyles, third for Aaron Fontaine. Unfortunately, we heard that Aaron Schugel will be unavailable to give any comment after the broadcast, as he's ordering a brand new microphone and has gotten rid of his old one. So with that being said, Schugel's comments will have to be placed on hold, at least for the time being. And with 5 laps to go, he's due to come back to the checkered flag and look for his second victory on the campaign from the high banks of Daytona down to St. Louis. Aaron Schugel has made himself known in these big moments. First playoff victory for him will come here and now, and after locking into the regular season finale with that victory, he's come through once again, and now has a 10-second lead across the stripe with 4 remaining. Within a second, Aaron Fontaine and Corey Lyles here. It looks like Aaron now going to be getting even closer than we anticipated. Previously, it looked like Fontaine was losing time, but instead now, looks like it's got a chance, the number 18 team does, to make it up to the runner-up position. Whether or not it can be done remains to be seen. But now Aaron Fontaine, with the footsteps being slowly but surely laid in the right direction, gives him a better chance than ever before to come out with second place on pace. At the line, 3 laps to go. Aaron Fontaine against Corey Lyles. That's the battle that will finish off this race. Rodney Roberts is coming up on Jake Raven as well with much newer rubber. That could also come into play, but it could also be dictated by the race leaders because Roberts is running out of time. 14/10 of a second to make up and give or take 2 laps overall for Rodney and Jake. Not impossible, but it will not be easy. And at the rate of closing between the number 29 and the number 37, it doesn't look like much will come of it. 2 laps to go for race leader Aaron Schugel, whereas Rodney Roberts now within a second of Jake Raven. And oh, Raven's in trouble now. Coming out of the corner again, Roberts is rapid, and this will move Jake Raven back to last of those still on the track if Rodney gets to him. Aaron Schugel now making his way out of the final 2 corners yet again. 1 lap to go for the driver who's been most dominant tonight. Overall leading 162 laps on the day so far. Make it 163. All but 1 lap in this entire event has been led by Aaron Schugel. He didn't start on the pole. He came from 4th to 1st in a lap and a half, avoiding the attrition, avoiding the struggle, and now making his way down to the stripe, the number 91 of Aaron Schugel, looking for his most important and his second career win in the Legacy Truck Series. Rounding turns 3 and 4, alone and untouched, unbothered, and undefeatable in Gateway. Aaron Schugel wins from the WorldWide Technology Raceway, his second on the season, as coming across the line, Jake Raven now behind Rodney Roberts. That will settle it for 4th. Corey Lyles comes home 2nd. Aaron Fontaine, first career podium, then in 3rd. Results official, and they go as follows. Aaron Schugel wins from Corey Lyles in 2nd, 11 seconds behind, and 3rd place, Aaron Fontaine, 12 seconds back. The final drivers to finish under their own power. 3 laps down, Jake Raven in 5th, Rodney Roberts 4th. Retirees, Thomas Coonan, Christopher Mullins, Shannon Milliken, Caden Perkins, and Cameron Albertson. And now Aaron Schugel coming down with his teammate, to do a double burnout for JFR and another victory for the dominant team in this series as Aaron Schugel will celebrate in the 91. The double burnout looks like it's going to come to a quick close for Aaron Schugel. Nevertheless, checkered flag is his tonight, and many a reason to celebrate. We'll see if Aaron's going to be available for comment to finish off the day. However, we do know that Aaron Fontaine and Corey Lyles should be with us momentarily. So, how about we get a word from our second and third place finishers, since that indeed is a guarantee. With Aaron's mic unfortunately not communicating with us tonight, we will try to get word from two other drivers, first of which will be your second place driver who did not lead a lap on the day, but still came home in second, Corey Lyles. Runner-up finish, 11 seconds back, and the JFR 1-2 works out quite well for the team. The number 56 operation from pole to second. You were involved in the first lap incident, but recovered quite well, Corey. How you feeling?
I love being given a P2 after a rough race. Just goodness gracious, that was a long, painful race. Made a terrible mistake on turn one. Still sorry to Cameron. That was I want to take at least half blame, if not more. Oh, jeez, I did terrible that race. Then get pretty much intent dumped. I mean, I love I love when intimidation goes wrong.
And you mentioned that very early incident that you got involved in, and moreover, the cautions coming at the very end. Tonight, for the most part, though, it came down to that strategy. What was it like for you trying to plan out the pit stops, which mostly dictated the entire event?
Yeah, I was trying to pit a little early since I was just trying to do a little bit of strategy, put in early just to kind of get a little bit of a jump on them. But I was not fast enough for Aaron. Definitely not, or neither Thomas. Uh, I'm happy where I finished. I don't really I don't like this track. I'm gonna be quite honest. I'm not a fan of this track. Um, and hopefully I'll do better next week.
And next week, you mentioned it, well, we'll be heading down to Thompson Speedway and then Richmond. Two final short tracks to finish off the campaign, and championship odds for your teammate Aaron Schugel looking rather high. How are you feeling about going ahead and trying to bring together victory for your team?
Oh yeah, we're gonna definitely try to get a 1-2 in the championship. Either me or Aaron on top. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I'm gonna try to. One of us are gonna try to get Thompson, just kind of sweep it up to the championship race.
And with the championship battle in mind, Corey Lyles today, you come home in second. Unfortunately, not able to talk to Aaron, but nevertheless, 1-2 finish for the team here in JFR. If you have any final comments you'd like to make, well, make sure to let us know. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Shout out to JFR. Shout out to everybody on the team. And yeah, it was a pretty dominant race. Also, Bagman Designs. Forgot. My bad.
And there we have it. Corey Lyles, second on the day here in the number 56 runner-up spot in Gateway. Thank you once again for your time.
Yep.
And with Lyles on the move, we go to a first-time podium sitter who ended up all throughout the order today. Aaron Fontaine, your first career podium from 6th up to 3rd, gaining 3 spots throughout the event and able to battle and outlast the attrition. What was it like out there for the number 18 team?
It just kind of turned into a war of attrition, really, and just got into lesser incidents than everybody else.
And you mentioned it, lesser incidents today. It looked like nobody was able to fully avoid all the chaos, but you did a pretty good job of getting yourself out of trouble there. A little bit of damage all around the edges, but seems you were able to manage.
Yeah, I got loose a couple of times and just smacked the wall a couple of times, and luckily it was drivable and I could get through it all.
And all things considered, able to avoid the big troubles, strategy tonight meant an awful lot. You went down a lap or two as the race progressed, but let's talk about the tires, let's talk about the fuel. What were you keeping your eyes on the most as it all progressed?
I was more looking at the front right tire, making sure that was running okay. Just because I don't know, this is my first time here, so it was quite the experience.
And it looks like, of course, first time for many in the field, and tonight, Aaron, first time podium. Great way to bring some momentum, perhaps, to the end of the season. Thompson up next, a short track, as we kick off our final 2-race swing. How do you feel about the outlook coming to Thompson up next?
Good question. I'm not entirely sure. It's probably going to be one of those wild cards like the other really short tracks, and so we'll have to see how it goes.
And we're due to see what's up next, but tonight, Aaron Fontaine, career-high finish, and a first podium at that in the Legacy Truck Series. If you got any final thoughts, the floor is yours, or any final shout-outs you'd like to give.
Well, I want to say thanks to the PRA for putting this on, for allowing me to participate in this lovely series that we have here. I also want to thank you for broadcasting these races.
And there we have it. Aaron Fontaine, third on the day here, rounding out the podium in Gateway. We thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And overall, one of the longest races on the campaign. It all came down to this. Aaron Fontaine in third, Corey Lyles in second, and while unavailable for comment today, Aaron Schugel, your winner here from Gateway. A fantastic performance, leading 164 of 165 laps. And Aaron Schugel has found a way to redeem himself, of course, getting the checkered flag, his second now in the past 2 races. With that being said, 2 races now left on the schedule, and the next one we head to, it's going to be Thompson Speedway. 2 more weeks. Halfway point of the championship battle in the playoffs here. We've hit it, and we move on to what's next to come. Short track swing and the championship finale, August 30th. We hope to see you there live on FTN, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage of the Gateway to the Midwest 200. For the WorldWide Technology Raceway, we've been covering all of the action of the Prodigy Racing Association here on Friday nights, live on FTN. I've been David Kreutz, commentating and producing throughout tonight's coverage, and if you enjoy, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. The Prodigy Racing Association is free to enter as a driver, so if you'd like to, scan the QR code on your screen and you can join the fun behind the wheel and get into the racing action here with the Legacy Truck Series. Thank you all for tuning in to tonight's coverage from the virtual Gateway Motor Park. It's been FTN Broadcasting, bringing you all the action from flag to flag. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you have a fantastic night.